Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another Typology interview. We have Alyssa. That's how you
Hi.
say your name, right?
Yeah, Alyssa.
Right.
Thanks for having
Um, yeah, thanks for coming. So I know there was I heard from third sources and stuff that there's like a little bit of controversy or drama or whatever going on around your
me.
typing or something. I tried
Um,
to stay far away from all the drama and stuff, but
and here you are.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's died down, I guess.
you could say that there was a bit of
Yeah,
surrounding it. It mostly came from a place of me not really seeing myself in the type, um,
right.
even though I've been trying to look at it, and I'm still trying to look at it. Currently, I'm taking more of an approach where I'm trying to remove myself from all of typology and just learn and not
Mm,
be so concerned about myself and what I am.
right.
And then maybe through that, it'll become more clear to me. Um,
Uh-huh.
and doing
Um,
things like this with interviews.
yeah. Did you get closer? Like I know it sat with you for a while already. Did you get closer to your type as time progressed, or you still?
So there are parts of it that I definitely can see now. Actually, I think that there are parts of it that are very accurate. Before,
Okay, that's good then.
myself as introverted feeling, and now I can absolutely see that, at least in
Okay,
OP's
yeah,
terms.
we'll get to it for sure. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your history and typology before we dive into your type?
Sure. So, gosh, it feels like it's been forever. Um, let's see. About 6 years ago, I was cleaning a closet in my apartment and I came across when I had taken the official MBTI. And that was around like my teens. And it was given to me by the therapist that I was seeing at the time. And so when I came across like they give you a little packet and everything, um, I I actually sat down and decided to look at it for probably the first time. I didn't really take it into consideration when they handed it to me at therapy. Um,
Right.
so I read over it and I was like, this seems pretty accurate. And then my next thought was, well, I want to go find people like me. You know,
Uh-huh.
I want to go find
What
other.
what type was there on the form?
It was it was INFJ.
INFJ. Okay.
So I immediately went to Facebook and just typed in INFJ, and I came across the Facebook group, and from there it was just basically history. I learned about Jung and the cognitive functions, and why is my boyfriend calling me? Sorry. Okay. Um, yeah, and so from there it took off into just a lot of studying, learning different systems. I got into socionics a little bit, and just a couple of other personalized systems like C.F. Joseph, and just because I like to compare and contrast, different ideas, basically all
Mm-hmm.
around typology. And when I came to OP, I was actually at a place where funny enough, had decided that it doesn't matter what type I am. And that seems really funny now because immediately after I got my typing results, I went back to basically what was probably my first impression of like, oh, this isn't right. Like, I know what I am, and
Uh-huh.
it was like my immediate reaction, um,
Right.
because I had been learning OP, but not so thoroughly.
Is that a masculine identity then that was arguing with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's usually harder for masculine identity to also accept their type if they got themselves off a little bit, or yeah.
Yeah. The FI thing really kind of threw me a lot at first, but then I thought about it in the sense because I had identified as an FE um,
Uh-huh.
person, and the more I thought about it, it was clear that even though my values are focused on unity and humanity and um, it's still what I value. It's FI, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, even FE, it's still what they value. Yeah.
I guess it just kind of
Just like TE is what you think.
understood. It was more of like the depth of which, and so that's why I could see it being, you know, like,
Uh-huh.
wow, this is their definition of it. I feel it deeply. Like, I don't know
Right.
my values, so um, yeah,
And so they gave you double decider then?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And is that something that you agreed with right away, this coin at least?
Yes. There is question of whether or not that is, in my mind at least, the way it always was. Um, but are you asking me to give you parts? Can I talk about other parts? Or
You can if you want. Yeah, I just wanted to focus on double decider for now.
um, I'm typed as play last, and I do in
I
the past.
see.
I'm able to see where there were like um, decider issues, like you know, a lot of insecurity in my youth, but not so much today. Um,
What's the source of the insecurity? What kind of insecurity?
um, so back then it was that like I wasn't being like the person that I wanted to be, and it wasn't lining for me like the and it would just make me frustrated that I have this idea of how I'm going to um, impact the world basically, and I was basically in my 20s was probably the most insecure time, and it was just like I was just doing nothing. I was working towards none of my goals. I wasn't, you know. Um,
Uh-huh. But you had goals?
mhm.
Uh-huh. And you weren't working towards them. Were they
No.
well organized, your goals? Like, were they well understood?
In my mind, yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I've actually been diagnosed as clinically depressed since I was a child. So I would go through bouts of depression, and so there would be periods of times where it would just be me and my thoughts, and basically just beating myself up about why you're not taking the action to do these things that you want
Hmm.
to do. Instead, you're just sitting here and you're throwing yourself a pity party. But um, that kind of subsided completely around my late 20s into right now I'm 34.
Okay. What
Um,
do you have any likes that you know about?
likes. Um,
A hierarchy of what's important to you?
um, like things or
Anything. Yeah. What's important to you? What are the important things to you in your life?
um, my family, my friends, people. Um, like as far as the actual things go, no, I don't really have. Like I don't have
Hmm.
hobbies or. Um,
What about freedom? Is that important to you?
no,
No.
mm, like
Um,
I don't know, maybe.
maybe.
No, explain a little bit more like what you mean by freedom. I guess it's like the concept itself. In general, no.
No.
Mm.
What about feeling boxed in long-term commitments? Do they make you no anxious at all? No.
No.
And what about chaos? Things that come to disrupt your life, things unexpected things.
Um, so I try to plan as much as I can to avoid chaos. Um, like every day I'll set my intentions for the day, and then I'll have a vision for each day, just as far as how I want things to go, in kind of like a set, like it's not a schedule, but it still involves seeing, like zooming out and seeing the day and the time and the slots for what you have to get done. Um, and so I try to avoid the chaos, but it's not hard, like,
Okay, so it's not a struggle.
no.
So then, what about your main life issue? It's people then more?
No.
No,
Is it like, I want to say myself?
yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just like, I would say that maybe it would just be the anxiety that I created within myself just for however many decades, just because of my constant like internal thoughts. Um,
What's the source of the anxiety though? Like it's not internal
uh,
anxiety.
no, well,
It's anxiety
it
about something scaring you.
yeah, there's a general concept that has been scaring me my entire life, and that's just it. And I hate saying it because it sounds really dumb. It's just the constant suffering of others in the world. And so I guess that would be chaos, right? Or I don't know. Like
Hmm.
it just it like ever since I was a child, it's always just really bothered me to know that there's just such incredible suffering here on earth. And um just I think it's because maybe I saw it and I experienced it first, maybe, I don't know. I went through some trauma in my childhood, but it stopped being about myself and I started constantly worrying about everyone around me, like more than just like my family and my friends, to the point where I started, I basically developed obsessive compulsive disorder to try to stop, in my mind, like all these horrific things happening to everyone around me. And it makes no sense because I thought I could control it when I was a child by just
Hmm.
having these routines and doing these rituals every day. And that would keep it at bay in my mind. But then I was eventually put in therapy, and I had to go through cognitive therapy. And it was just basically taught to me that you don't have this effect on reality that you think you have. Like, that's not how it works. You can't just stop something from happening just because you think you can will it, with your actions. Um,
Hmm.
so eventually I did end up,
Yeah, that sounds a little bit like demon intuition.
mhm,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, part definitely for sure. Yeah.
Um, is your intuition also, is it feminine as well?
No.
No, it's masculine.
Yeah.
And do you see? I guess it's Ni, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you say you have these solid plans, which I guess maybe comes from the masculine.
Hmm.
Um, is changing a plan something that's stressful for you? If someone doesn't show up on time, or like if you schedule something?
Yeah, but I've gotten better about it. I I think.
Yeah.
um,
Well, tell me how bad it used to be then.
Well, how it used to be is I felt like I would know when something wasn't going to work out, so I would do whatever I could to like negate. I So if there was something that I didn't end up seeing happening, like I would get really angry, and it wasn't always at like other people; it would be like at myself for not seeing like why this would affect my plan. Um, but these days, I feel like I'm more laid back in general. Like I don't like get angry at myself for not seeing something coming, or um but I don't know, and it's a problem because I always think I'm right and that I can always see what's coming. And so
Right. So like the intuition locks on to some future outcome,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
hard to it's hard when that doesn't happen, or does it happen often that the
It,
future outcome is correct?
um, in my mind, I feel like I usually get it.
You get it.
Yeah, like it's fine. Like there's not a whole lot of times where um, something really trips me up anymore, at least. But
Can you tell us how maybe it did trip you up in the past?
um, no, see, this is my problem. Is I'm so bad at recalling in detail
Yeah.
that
That's the feminine Etsy.
thing reminds me of like triggers. It's so hard for me to pull up example. Um, it has to basically be pulled from me whenever I want to give an example of something. And something kind of also has to spark that memory. It's either
So you gave away kind of what you got typed by saying you were play last. That makes you consume, sleep, blast.
consume, sleep, blast. Yes.
Yeah. And that would make you info dominant as well. Do you see yourself as info dominant?
Um, I think more so info dominant than energy. Although I do manage my energy throughout the day, and I feel like I do it consciously. So I would lean towards info dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Do you have a reason for it, or?
Mostly because that's what other people have told me that they can see the most.
Huh.
Yeah, I actually had a little chat with Leon, I think is his name, and because he was asking me about whether or not I saw myself as info dominant or energy dominant, and so we chatted for like about a half hour or so, and then he was like, "You're for sure info dominant." I'm like, okay, that's fine. Um, like I don't have a stance either way in it. I
Uh-huh.
feel.
We
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we have a little message from Thomas here.
I'm not sure what he's mean.
Yeah, I guess he's just saying thanks for coming out and talking about your type in general.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy for me. This is the furthest thing from
Why isn't it easy for you?
um because of my lack of communication skills, I would say. I
Uh,
feel like I can't convey my thoughts properly most of the time if I try to talk. So I usually remain a pretty quiet person unless I can like lay it out, and that's why I like using the internet to speak, is because I can just type my thoughts and take as much time as I want to say what I want to say and get it out the right way versus
mhm.
in person or like on this video. It feels rushed to me to get an answer out.
Do you think that might have something to do with a play last, like processing in real time?
It could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how are you in like a crisis situation if something happens that's disrupting the day, or I don't know, an
Um,
emergency?
from what I've been able to gather is I'm pretty collected and efficient. Just from my experiences with my job, I work as a nanny, and there's been some situations where you have to take action fairly quickly and do the right thing when you need to do it. And
Mhm.
um, I've been able to stay mostly level-headed during those
Do
situations.
you, is it something that sort of wakes you up, this crisis situation, like where you feel really present in the moment? Like, do you feel like that you're shifting into a play mode?
I can't feel a shift. No.
Yeah, a hyper awareness sort of thing, or no?
There's a lot that I don't feel present about in my natural state. I've been working a lot on mindfulness in the last 5 years, And that's helped some, but most of the time I don't feel present. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel a shift. I just know what has to get done. I don't know. In that moment.
So when you don't feel present, then what does that mean? Where are you?
In my mind, my
And
thought.
what goes on in your mind? What kind of things?
Um, just thoughts about the human condition, world, where everyone is in life, and what basically all I've ever thought about my entire life is like, what is this? Why are we here? What are we doing? You know,
Uh-huh.
and it just goes on and on and on.
So it's like that's a double activated NF sleep. Is that what it feels like when you're in your head? Just NF?
Um, but the majority of it,
Yeah.
it's more, um, more along the what I would probably consider like
It's
thinking.
masculine too. Double masculine in your sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like you would be pretty solid on your values and your intuition there. Maybe um, ranking things in patterns or ranking things based on no. There's no ranking that you go through. There's
No.
no this is better than that. This is more important.
No.
This is no.
Mm-mm.
Do you have an idea of how to describe your sleep? Maybe.
It's no, I don't. What is this? Extremely non-movable about anything related to identity. So I've actually always considered myself movable in my identity. As far as because I don't know what I like, or that to me has always felt really not solid. Um, but then there are things that point toward being solid on it because it's been the same, like as far as what I value. Um,
Do you feel like your values are more universal, more divorced from time? Like,
yes.
can you tell us some of your values, some of the things that are important?
Um, well, the most important thing is just harmony and unity. Um,
Uh-huh.
but um,
What is harmony then?
um, harmony, I feel like, is just a place that we're never going to get to. I don't know, but I spend a lot of time thinking of like what could be there. Like if we all just shared the same um, idea of oneness and realized that like we're not different from each other. We're just all the same
Uh-huh.
being. But that's a lot of, you know, for me, I actually feel more at peace with it these days than I did before. I'm not, the anxiety is not really there where I'm constantly worrying about the suffering going on. That's something that used to be, and that's not there anymore
Uh-huh.
because I found a peace with it within myself. But those values are still there. It's what I value.
The end of suffering, harmony, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
our unity and
what what do you see in reality these days? Like what's real?
everything.
Everything.
Everything's real. This is
Um,
real.
um, do you see values in reality? Do you see?
On a day-to-day life, sure,
Yeah.
but not. I mean, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Like to me, everything is and isn't at the same time now, and I don't know. I don't really know how to best convey it.
What about going into a morally compromisable situation? Someone was to ask you to do something that you thought was wrong. Is that something that you could do? Is that something that it would be difficult for you to do?
It just
That,
depends on the situation.
that you would outright refuse to do?
Not outright, no. I would want context though. Like, what is this moral action?
Uh-huh. How would you justify how would you how would you go about justifying something that you would think is wrong?
If it was a greater good and not just how I see things. If it was benefiting multiple people, perhaps, and not. But again, it just depends on what the context is, you know?
Yeah. Could you imagine different contexts in this way, or it's hard for you to imagine a context?
I could. I could
Yeah.
imagine there's situations. Yeah.
So what would be a context where it would be easy for you to bend your morals or your values to a situation?
Um,
Just more the greater good thing?
yeah, that's really, it's just what is, you know, the greater good, what is gonna
Uh-huh.
come out of this.
And what kind of yeah, I'm trying to do you think everyone is entitled to their own opinion?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think everyone is entitled to their own set of values as well?
Sure.
Yeah. Um, do you think everyone should agree on things, or it's okay to disagree?
No, it's okay to disagree.
And so where would the harmony come in when there was a disagreement then?
Um, the harmony comes in when I don't know. It's really hard to explain for me to put it into words.
Uh-huh.
In this reality that we're in, we're always going to have conflict. We're always going
Uh-huh.
to contradiction, but those are, in a sense, like the result of our identities and our egos. And so, even though we have that and that's the reality, we can still reach a place of unity because we're all the same. I don't know how to else explain it. Like, at least in my opinion, like I'm no different from this desk or the walls or the trees or you or and
Uh-huh.
it's just all one. And even though our egos bring those conflictions, um,
So we have a question from Thomas. He's asking who decides what the greater good is.
who decide.
And yeah, in those situations where you could go against your morality, is it you that has to be on board with the greater good, or is it can someone else, or can society say this is the greater good, or like who decides what the greater?
Would probably be, I'd probably lean towards what society sees as the greater good in that instance, because I don't know, I feel like maybe society would probably be onto something that I maybe can't see as like an individual. I don't know.
Yeah. What about things? Do you freak out at things at all? Do you break things when do you ever get upset, angry?
I have small little bursts, but I don't
Uh-huh.
flip my lid or anything.
Uh-huh. And what is the bursts? Is it on people more? Is it on things? Is it?
It's on things more, but yeah, I really don't have like.
Do you have an example of something, a time that you got angry at a thing?
I don't like. I've been angry at my phone. I've been angry at, you know,
Why? Why were you angry at your phone?
just like it not working properly or the way that it should be working, or like. But I quickly move on from those things. Like I don't get really angry about it. So that's
Yeah.
something that I don't really like. I never have huge freakouts over things, but I get upset and then I move on.
Do you get upset because it's not letting you be free more, or you get upset more because it's controlling you, or neither?
Neither. Just because
Just because it's not working.
not working. It's not doing
Uh-huh.
what to do.
What is true for you? What is truth?
Uh, so truth, the way that I see it now, isn't how I used to see it.
How did you used to see it then?
Oh, it was just super subjective. Like if I thought something was the way it should be or the way it was gonna be, then that was it. It was just, this is the truth. This, it could just been my own stupid opinion on something. And that's been the way that it's been for most of my life up until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And I don't know how to explain the truth that I see now. It's very similar to like what I couldn't describe earlier. Which is funny to me.
So Jenny says there's a change in vibe based on this topic, on truth. It makes you uncomfortable, I guess.
Well, it's because I've lived so long knowing that I was basically an idiot, thinking that everything that I thought was true was true. Like, oh, this is the way it's going to be, and this is what's true. And but now it's more calm. Like I really only believe in one truth right now. And
so yeah, I see you're associating truth with your NI more. Like this is what's going to be.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What about contradictions? How do you resolve them? Do you need to resolve them? Do they bother you? No.
More.
What?
They
Yeah.
used to me. Yeah, I would pretty get triggered by contradictions in the past. Be like, how can you be this, but then also say this? And but now it's just like
so contradictions between somebody's integrity maybe and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what like practice what you preach sort of thing?
Yeah, like that. But now that the contradictions don't really, like, I don't see contradictions anymore, which is weird, but it just all is, like,
What about social hierarchies and things like this? Are you aware of like?
Yeah.
I don't know who's above who in social hierarchies. Is it something you see?
Yeah, I definitely see it.
Yeah. Are you aware of your own position in the social hierarchy too?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I see a definite state change. Like you perked up when I asked you that question. So it sounds like whatever it is, it's got to be some kind of savior state as well, the social hierarchy.
I I guess.
Yeah. Can you tell me about, I don't know, were you aware of it in high school, the social hierarchy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me about a little bit about the types of social hierarchy that was there, who was where?
The cliche groups that everybody always ends up in, the, you know, the different grouping of social groups. I don't know. And you've been in high school, so right, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always been really aware of that stuff.
Okay, so we got a question here. What makes you really angry and what makes you feel confused? Maybe we'll focus on one at a time. We already talked about anger a little bit. Maybe we talk about confusion.
So I used to get angry at myself, and that's the only point of anger that I really, really ever experienced. I don't really, my relationship with anger is kind of interesting because I've never felt very angry as a person. And I identify like as a Enneagram 9 a lot because of that.
Yeah.
It really takes a lot to upset me. And those are just such situational things that I can't think of examples. I'm so bad at that. Sorry.
What about confusion? What makes you confused?
Confusion.
Is it something that you're often confused?
I don't
It's
often feel
familiar.
confused.
No?
No. Sometimes something will throw me a loop, like I won't understand the way something works that I should understand. I don't know how to explain it. And I can't think of any.
Is it frustrating when you can't understand how something works?
Yeah.
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 How do you get around it? Do you usually go to someone else to help you, or do you just sit on it for?
I will go to someone else. Yeah. Usually my boyfriend.
Right.
Also has the same problem, so sometimes we run into things where we're both stoned.
Right. Okay. Have you? I don't know if it's appropriate or not. Like, if I can ask, you can just refuse to answer if you want. Have you been medicated in the past, or are you medicated now on something?
I have been medicated in the past. I'm not currently medicated.
Okay.
The time that I was on medication was very short. It actually ended up being very, very bad for me. And so I never went back to trying being on medication.
Okay. Yeah. No, because sometimes medication might mess with your type. Because I don't know. I've seen people on Adderall that just don't seem as any anymore, or something like that.
Yeah. No, most of my life not on medicine.
Yeah, like, so I do get the mope stereotype, the consume sleep. Like, that makes sense. Play last should be like the most introverted of all types, whatever that is.
I mean, all day I literally am just it would be the most boring thing you could ever see.
Right. And yeah, play last, it would be hard to actually go into gear and get into action and get things done. And that's what you were saying.
I'm actually very good at actualizing my vision.
Actualizing your vision. So, like, tell me about a vision that you actualized. Even small vision, it's okay.
Well, it doesn't have to be small, because my entire career I actualized from a vision. I wanted to find work that made me feel fulfilled, and I knew that it was going to take building skills, because I basically was just a shut-in all my life and didn't develop this, the world skills around me. And so I just made a plan to become the person that I wanted to be, and do the work that I wanted to do. And I mean, it's going on 10 years now in my career. But I'm at the place where I saw myself wanting to be 10 years ago. And there's details there, but I suck at the details.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that now that it's the feminine SE.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely seeing a few parts of the coins. Some of them are a little harder to see.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll say
um,
all the parts are right. It's just the
yeah.
order. Let's see, what's this say?
So what's your opinion about the love languages? I don't know what that means. What patterns do you have you seen in people that you know? What are love languages, Thomas?
Love languages are like you're either gonna have like one or two of five love languages. I think they're acts of service, physical touch.
Well, okay, yeah.
What was the question?
So what's your opinion about them, and what patterns have you seen in people you know?
The patterns that what was that one?
Sorry.
The patterns that I've noticed the most is in general people who they mostly try to give their love language, which is kind of funny because just because it's your love language doesn't mean it's going to be someone else's love language. And so I see that a lot, like someone who would prefer to have like acts of kindness will then project that onto their person, even though that person may
I
not have,
expect them to perform that to you.
not
Yeah.
have that same love language. Um, as far as like individuals patterns, I I don't really know. Um, I know what I am. I know what my significant other is, but I don't go around and ask everyone, "What's your love language?"
I think Jonathan might have come a little late because we already stated what your goal in life was, and it is related to helping people. So
Yes, yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah. So what's the biggest difficulty then that you had in accepting your type?
Um, I think it was because my need is certainty, and that really throws me a loop.
You need certainty.
Yeah, yeah. Certainty is my top priority. At least when I'm in my natural mode, I can get to a place where I don't need it as much, which I've been working on a lot.
Right.
But my natural state is I need certainty. And so that kind of threw me a loop because I think it's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah. Like, what about variety then?
Um, I'm pretty
Can,
minimalist. I don't,
can you eat the same thing every day?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I don't, but
can you go back? Oh, you don't. Okay. Can you go back to the same restaurant over and over again?
yeah, I have
Yeah.
favorite.
You have a favorite restaurant?
Mhm.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Called Wild. It's like down the street from where I live. Like,
Yeah, you just perked up. You perked up when I asked you that question. So that's an FI there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, would you have a second favorite restaurant?
No, it's just the
No.
one.
What's
Yeah.
what's on the menu that's your favorite there too?
Um, well, they have like this hot chicken sandwich that I like a lot.
There you go.
Um, but I try to try other things. They have like good meatloaf. But yeah, I like the hot chicken sandwich.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. You get in a very savior state when I asked you what your favorite. Yeah. So
Okay,
yeah.
that's good to know because I couldn't see it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely hard to see. Really interesting. Do you have any like a message or something that you want to give off before we sign out? Some
Just love each other, be kind.
Yeah. Um, do you have anything you want to promote or
No,
no?
no,
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming out.
you.
Yeah, have a
All
good
right,
one.
take care.
Bye, guys. Bye, YouTube.
Bye.